Hello students, we have done with the zonation of sea and we have done with the adaptations of several other organisms. Right now we are going to deal with the adaptations of organisms which remains or which resides in the muddy shore. Now this muddy shore is a part of the intertidal shore or the intertidal zone. Okay, this beaches or this coast is characteristically enclosed in the tidal inlets of the sea that where wave action and other movements are not that much strong as compared to the rocky shore. And even here, the absence of powerful water movements are not present, and most of the organisms are remained suspended into the mud and they get settled into the mud. And this animals shows an adaptations which are related to burrowing, and due to the burrowing there is no much oxygen supply, and even there is no much oxygen supply, and that is why most of the adaptations are related to the same. So the muddy shores are nothing but the form at the seashore where is less wave action, and this is nothing but the intertidal area which is formed by the deposition of the particles from the small particles, which is also known as a silt. The small particles of the soil are known as a silt. So this silt comes along with the wave action and due to the water flowing, and it remains deposited into such areas and it becomes the muddy shore. These are quite common along the beaches, estuaries, and mangroves. This is also known for its high organic carbon content. Due to the presence of high organic carbon in the mud, it gives a good nourishment to the organisms which lives over here. These shores are present opposite to the sandy beaches. Okay, both are in the nature of substratum. Is a nature of substratum is a small particles. The physical factors which we can see or which are different over here on these beaches are the wave action. As we have already I have already mentioned that there is less wave action or no stronger waves present in this muddy shores. So muddy shores are developed only along the shores of mild wave action. No strong wave actions can be seen. Therefore, this shows restricted to the intertidal areas of enclosed bays, lagoons, and the estuaries. The mild wave action facilitates the fine grain particles which brought by the fresh waters to settle and form a muddy substratum, or which is also known as the mud flats. These areas are stable as compared to the sandy substratum and more conducive to the establishment of a permanent burrow. Generally, when we see the burrows in the sand, okay, the organism forms the burrows in the sand that remains the temporary one. When the wave comes, the burrows get filled with the sand again, and again organisms has to make the new burrow every time. But here in mud flats, the burrows are kind of the permanent burrows once it is made by an organism. The another physical factor is the substratum. We have seen that in rocky shore there is a hard substratum. The rock forms a hard substratum for the organisms to attach. So here the fine particles clumps together or they forms a flat surface, and that is nothing but the substratum. So in this area has very fine particles and a flat surface. which known to retain high amount of interstitial water in the substratum. It has a high water holding capacity as compared to the rocky shore. This retention of water in its interstitial space for longer time leads to the poor exchange of the water and high load of the microbes and results in the formation of anoxic conditions below the surface of the sediment, and that is why it this burrows of the organism has less amount of oxygen. The another physical factor is the temperature and salinity. The fluctuations in the temperature, salinity present in the muddy shore are not very significant as compared to the sandy shore and the rocky shore. So these are effectively buffered by the mud. So the mud which is present in this region helps in maintaining the temperature as well as in the salinity. The slow interchange of interstitial water is mainly responsible for maintaining constant salinity in the mud. Moreover, the variation at the substrate surface do not significantly affect the organisms, as most of them are burrowers living deep inside the mud. Generally, these organisms doesn't form hard shell, that they do not have to face the high wave actions, strong wave actions, and that is why they do not show the hard covering on their body. Generally, the organisms which are found in the mud, they are soft bodied organisms, or if the shells are present, they are not that much hard as compared to the rocky shore. So this organisms forms the burrow and lives inside that burrow. Fourth one is the organic material. Muddy shore tends to accumulate organic material, and it acts, or it is used as a food source of the organisms. And generally, when we talk about the organic material, to grasp this organic material or to grasp the food, instead of any opening, any circular opening or any pores, this organisms has the cilia to grasp the food. Okay, because many times there are chances that the clogging of the pores may take place, and to avoid the clogging, the organism shows the cilia present in their body for the absorption of the food. There are different types of organisms present in such shore. In contrast to sandy shore, muddy shores develop a substantial growth of various plants. You can see many plants in this region. That is the mangroves. Many mangroves are present in this region. Okay, as you cannot observe the mangroves or the plants in sandy shore or the rocky shore. As compared to that, the muddy shore shows many plants present in this such region. On the bare mud flats, the most abundant plants are diatoms, which live in the surface layers of the mud and often give brownish color to the surface or low tide. Generally, we have studied that diatoms are the phytoplanktons, and that is why we have mentioned it as a plants. They are present as a plants. So along with the mangroves, some other algae, some other phytoplanktons can be observed in this muddy shore. The other plant includes the large macroalgae such as Gracilaria, Alva, Enteromorpha. The other areas, particularly the lowest tidal level, may be covered with a growth of various seagrass such as Zostera. As a result of occurrence of these primary producers, there is substantial primary productivity in mud flats, and the other organisms which depends on these primary producers can be abundantly seen in these mud flats. So it contains large number of bacteria which feed on the abundantly present organic matter in such areas. These bacteria are capable of using potential energy of the various reduces chemical compounds abundant here. Okay, so the autotrophic chemolitho or the sulfur bacteria obtain energy through the oxidation of a number of reduced sulfur compounds such as various sulfides. These organisms are thus primary producers of organic matter which is similar to the green plants. They produce organic matter using energy obtained from oxidation of the reduced sulfur compounds. This autotrophic bacteria are located in the RPD layer of mud. RPD is there are the layers of a mud, so RPD is one of the layer of a mud. So these mud flats are unique among marine environments in that they have two separate layers in which primary productivity occurs, that is on surface layer and the deep layer. On the surface layer obviously there is abundant sunlight is present, so by photosynthesis the primary productivity occurs, and in the deep layer there are the bacteria who are capable to produce their own food by the chemical by using the chemicals. So through the way of chemosynthesis the primary productivity occurs. As I have mentioned, there are different organisms which has the different types of mouth or the adaptations for the feeding. The dominant feeding types on mudflats are deposit feeders and suspension feeders. Okay, whatever is present on the mud, whatever is deposited into the mud, that gets deposited into the body of the organisms, or they remain suspended in the organism. So the deposit feeders are generally abundant at this area, is bound with the organic matter as well as the large populations of bacteria in the sediments. This includes the polychaete of genera Arenicola and Capitella. This polychaete feeds by burrowing through the mud, ingested and digestion out the organic matter including bacteria and passing out the undigested material through the anus. So whatever the mud is present, okay, so it burrows into the mud. The polychaetes are nothing but arthropods which has the many jointed legs, and this polychaetes feeds it burrows in the mud and it ingests the mud, digests the organic matter and passes out the undigested material through the anus. Similarly, like Arenicola, it lives in a U-shaped burrow where one end of the burrow is permanently open to the surface, which is called tail shaft, and another end of the burrow is filled with sediment which the worm ingests. So both the ends are out of it comes out of the surface and it forms a U-shaped tube inside the sediment. Capitellids on other hand form no permanent tubes but move like earthworm, like worms, through the surface layer of sediment and ingesting the food. Apart from these deposit feeders, the species of surface feeding terebelid, polychaetes and the burrowing hemichordates are also presented over here. The deposit feeding bivalves includes are the species of Macoma and Scrobicularia. So these are the organisms which are present and which shows the different types of the feeding in the similar substratum. Suspension feeders include the species such as the clams. General deposit feeders are more common in fine-grained shores, and suspension feeders become more abundant in coarse sediment where there is a little organic matter. The common carnivorous animals in muddy shores includes the fishes, that is Periophthalmus, Boleophthalmus. These are the different types of mud keepers. We generally call it as a mud keeper. Okay, so these are the carnivorous fishes, carnivorous animals which depends upon the other organism for their feeding. Indigenous mud flat predator include few polychaete worms, moon snails, and the worms and crabs. This mud flat has also different zonation. So this very gently slope of these areas offers very extensive and wide beaches than as compared to rocky and sandy shores. The zones which we can observe over here, this muddy shore can be divided into three regions, which is known as the supralittoral fringe. It is also known as the terrestrial zone, which leads to the mid-littoral zone or mid-littoral region, and then the sublittoral fringe. Okay, so the supralittoral is often inhabited by any organisms. In some coasts, this zone is occupied by salt marshes or mangroves. Generally, on the muddy shore, we can observe the mangroves, and such area is nothing but the terrestrial zone or the supralittoral fringe. In the mid-littoral region, mostly inhabited by the burrowing mollusks such as the cardium and Mecoma. The clam, cardium is nothing but the clam like or it is an bivalve, so it remains suspended into the mud. And the sublittoral are inhabited by the polychaetes. Polychaetes are sometimes freely moving, or they have a legs for locomotion, so they crawl on the surface. Okay, and the clams or the bivalves, they remain suspended or burrowed into the mud. So these are the three zones, and according to the zones there are different types of organisms present. So let's move to the adaptations. There are very little adaptations which we can see. The burrowing mode of life, some the organisms which shows the burrowing mode of life, because there is no hard substratum to get attached with, and that is why most of the organisms remains burrowed into the mud. So the muddy shore organisms adapted to burrow into the soft substratum or construct tubes and live inside it. They form various shapes of the tube. Either they burrow straight into the mud, or they form a U-shaped tube. According to the type of organism they have the different or the unique type of burrowing into the mud. So a soft substratum or construct tubes and live inside the tube, as these areas are with increased stability due to the presence of fine sediment. As we have already learned that this area doesn't show much variation in the temperature and salinity, and that is why the mud is remains successful to trap this environment or trap these conditions into the mud for longer time. For burrowing into the mud, these organisms possess the digging organs like foot. Okay, they have the muscular foot through which they can dig themselves into the mud. Another one is the feeding adaptations. Most of the muddy shore organisms adapted for the ciliary mode. I have already mentioned this earlier, that since the mud is made up of fine silt, so if the pores are present, the pores may get clogged due to the mud, and that is why the instead of pores, most of the organism shows the ciliary mode of feeding. Okay, so this area is rich in detritus, and by this way they prevent the feeding surfaces from clogging by the detritus particles. Another adaptations of muddy shore organisms are ability to tolerate anoxic condition. Now anoxic condition means very less oxygen is present in this muddy shore or in the mud. Since the organisms remain suspended or burrowed into the mud, there is less exchange of water, and if the water is less exchanged, that means the oxygen level is reduced. The dissolved oxygen in this mud area or in this muddy surface is less, and that is why it may create the anoxic condition. Okay, that means the less amount of oxygen is present, and that is why most of the organism can survive in this anoxic condition. They have the adaptation to live in the less oxygen environment. So for the survival in the anoxic muddy sediment, these muddy shore organisms either be adapted to live under anaerobic conditions, or they must have some means to bringing the overlying surface water with oxygen down to them. See, these organisms remain burrowed into the mud, burrowed inside the mud. So there is less mixing of the water with the mud, because the mud has the high capacity to trap the water. So once the water is trapped, there is no exchange of water, there is no flowing of water again into the mud, and that is why whatever the oxygen is present in that water, it gets consumed by organisms, and there is no more oxygen present in such a water which is present in the mud. And that is why some of the organisms are adapted to live in the less oxygen condition, or that is called as anoxic condition, or they shows the presence of some organs into their body, which brings out to the which are present, or which gives out above the surface. Though they are living into the mud, but burrowed into the mud, they have some long organs, okay, which can be reached into the surface of the mud, and that will help them to take in the oxygen. So they must have some means to bring the overlying surface water with oxygen down to them. For this, the muddy shore organisms are known to construct the burrows, extending their siphons to the surface. Again, siphon is the opening to the organisms. We can see this opening in many of the mollusks which remained burrowed into the mud. So the siphons to the surface, which brings in oxygen rich water as well as food. Some other organisms are able to live in the anoxic substratum anoxic surface sediments by possessing oxygen carriers such as hemoglobin in its blood. Along with these organs, some of the organism has the hemoglobin. As all of us knows that hemoglobin acts as the oxygen carrier. So some of them has the hemoglobin, which helps the animal to live in very less oxygen environment. So this is all about the muddy shore and the organisms which shows the adaptations to live in this muddy shore. I hope all of you have understood the adaptations in the muddy shore organisms. Let's discuss your doubts in the next lecture if you have. Thank you.